Hello. Yeah. Cool. All right, everyone. Welcome to, I guess, lecture. I mean, you've done this before. This is my second lecture for this cohort. How have you snuck through so far? Genuinely, like, how have you made it so far? Is it only my second? Jeez, man. Jeez. Or- How could I? Nah, man, blame Davey. Blame Davey. I don't do the schedules. Huh? Is this third one? What other one have I done? Yeah, psycho. I tend to talk a lot, so it feels like I'm lecturing a lot. Um, yeah, cool. You got the screen up there. I have this cool Chrome extension that like loads up a new picture every time I go to like a new tab, and they're always like Google Earth like satellite views, and you're like, oh, cool, this is in this place. And you load it up, and it shows it to you on Google Earth. But it's nice because sometimes I'm just not productive. I just keep opening up new tabs and going like, yeah, that's cool. That's right. That's pretty cool, yeah. It's awesome, yeah. Um, and then like if it saves all your little places here. I'm like, wow, let's go to South Australia. Anyways, yeah, no, the internet is cool. Um, how's everyone doing? Like, good, I hope, yeah? How did you like week 5? Yeah? You know, that's my program. Like, that's the stuff I study forever, right? Or, you know, for what feels like forever. It's been like 5 years, rounding about 6. Um, so if you're interested in computer science, because there are some people that take boot camp and then want to go into a computer science degree, come talk to me. I'll tell you all about it. Because I mean, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about like week 5 in general. Did did you genuinely enjoy? Like, were there things that you found hard? Yeah. Cool stuff that was way too hard. Like what kind of stuff? Hmm. Yeah. Is it like the concepts or the questions just tough in themselves, or like what is it about? Yeah. Hmm. I have never actually looked at the vampire questions, but I know that every cohort during week 5, people will be posting in Slack for like asking people for help with the vampire question. And I'm like, that sounds like a tough question. I haven't even seen it, but I know it by reputation. um, cool. Did you enjoy reading about things like complexity and stuff like that? Right? Are you seeing like the point of knowing at least a little bit about that stuff as a web developer? Right? Sort of. If you don't, like, feel free to speak up. Like, we could have a conversation about that. Yeah, because it's like we go through boot camp, um, and I personally think that web development is awesome, is really cool, but it really pulls you far away from the things that are actually happening down in your computer, right? That degree of separation can be cool for productivity, right? Because you can get a lot done with like frameworks, right? You're just like, okay, let's just install Express. I don't know what's going on down there. I'll just run it, right? You get really excited, you get really productive, and then eventually you might run into a problem, right? You might run into a problem. You're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix this problem because I don't know what's going on underneath, right? So that degree of abstraction comes with, like, it's a double-edged kind of sword, right? It's good for productivity, but then you like nick yourself on not really knowing what's going on underneath. So in my point of view, week 5, right, the computer science week, gets you a little bit more acquainted with what's going on inside of the programs that you write, right? And you don't go all the way down to like machine level, right? But you talk about computer science concepts, right? You talk about things like recursion, right? You talk about things like complexity, right? You start understanding why maybe it's not really good to have 8 loops nested inside of each other, right? Those are things to kind of start thinking about. I'm going to say that, like, if there's stuff that confused you in week 5, personally, I wouldn't stress about it right now, right? I just want to kind of like wipe that. Like, don't stress about it too much. Focus on the web dev stuff, but keep that in the little drawer in the back of your head and keep kind of like referring back to it, right? Because things like the concepts that you get from that you study in computer science week, those things are kind of permanent, right? Like, those things do not change in computer science, right? Like, there will always be recursion, right? There will always be complexity. There will not always be Express, right? There will not always be React, right? These things, to me, are fleeting, right? They're fleeting. So rest of boot camp, right? Rest of boot camp, all the web dev stuff, it's a mix of like learning the actual technologies and getting good at learning things really fast, right? Like, those are the things that we're doing with boot camp. For me, week 5 is introducing you to the fact that, like, computer science is a really broad field, right? Really broad, right? There's parts of it that are core, right? Are core, and I personally think that you need a little bit of an understanding, right, to become like a competent programmer, right? So, on top of that, a lot of employers in interviews will ask you computer science questions, which I think is cruel, but it happens, right? So it's something that you might want to also put a little bit of thought into as you get closer to applying for jobs and going to interviews, right? Like, the questions that you might encounter in technical interviews will be a mix probably of like web dev questions if you're applying for web dev jobs, and also computer science questions, right? That's like a thing that you will want to think about, right? Again, don't stress about it right now, but just don't be surprised when it comes up. I'm a huge shill for the green book? The big green book called Cracking the Code Interview, right? Cracking the Coding Interview. somebody here uses it as a stand for their for like their for their monitor or something. Hey, KV. You know, but it's a good book. It's a good book, and when you go look at it, right, which I recommend you do, or just look up the PDF version or something. Shh, I didn't say that. When you look at it, you're going to see that there's going to be a mix of questions, right? Many of which happen to be the kind of thing that you did with Computer Science Week, right? So, you know, I know it feels like a big kind of discontinuity from the rest of the boot camp, but there is an importance for it being there, right? Yeah, I think also a lot of the things that we take for granted in frameworks, right? A lot of those things, they can seem like magic, right? Until you really sit down and you start working through them and seeing what's going on, right? And the computer science stuff helps out with that, right? Seeing is like, why did this particular person who made this framework make this decision and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of hit on that real quick. But today's lecture is about something completely different. Today's lecture is about WebSockets. Well, that is tiny font, eh? Today's lecture is about WebSockets. WebSockets. Okay. So WebSockets, and today is week 6, day 3. Week 6, day 3. Numbers. Damn, y'all made it really far. That's awesome. You have like a month left. It's honestly really cool. So, you know, lay out what the goal for today is. We're going to implement real-time communication between how many clients? Multiple clients and a server, and specifically, we're working in a browser. This is the thing that we're going to be working towards over the course of the lecture, right? And now, I will let you know ahead of time. This lecture is going to be split into 2 parts. Okay, 2 parts. First part is a bit of historical info and motivation. Not like, you can do it, like not that kind of motivation, but more like, why WebSockets? That's the thing that we're going to be working on the first part of the lecture. And the second part of the lecture is a bit of exploration on, can anybody guess what we're exploring? Could it be WebSockets? Probably, yeah, of WebSockets. So I'm going to start off with some historical info. Now, I want to say that I know I put out this goal, right? Let me clarify this a little bit more. The thing that we're working towards is things like collaborative tools, right? Collaborative online tools in the theme of like Google Docs or Trello or Slack, right? Where multiple clients are connected to the same thing and they're able to make like real-time updates, right? Because that's not something that we've really done so far, right? So far, the projects that we made have had like one user using it at a time, really kind of, right? And if one user did a thing, another user didn't immediately see something happen, right? That's what we're working towards, is being able to see immediate changes. Now, a little bit of historical info. So, section 1, history. So, let's talk about the war. No, I did that with you last time, right? I have like 3 jokes, right? So, you know what? Screw history. Let's start a company. Let's leave Lighthouse. Let's make our own tool. All of us, we're working together. Actually, I'm the CEO. I'm hiring all of you. This is a tech interview. Wham! You didn't realize. Here's your question. Make me Google Docs, or Trello, or let's go, or Slack. Make me Google Docs or Slack right now. What do you do? What's in your resume over the course of this boot camp right now? Let's see, you know things. Okay, so cohort resume, Node.js, cool. Express, what else? Really, come on, fluff up your resume. What's in here? MongoDB, very nice. What was that? Connects, very good. jQuery, okay. HTML and CSS, yes. People skills, I hope. What else do we have? Yeah, HTTP, I'm going to throw that in there, and REST. These are things that we know. We'll throw the word AJAX in there. This is a dope resume. Good stuff. All right, I will tell you, and JavaScript. You forgot just vanilla JavaScript. I will tell you that you have everything that you need to create Google Docs. That you have everything that you need. Now do it. How do we start? Let's whiteboard this. Just for the fun of it. If there's a pen, oh, there is a pen over there. Yeah. Like so. I'm just gonna test them first. Nope. This one's garbage, and this one's good. Okay, so let's whiteboard out our version of Lighthouse Docs. Shit. Oh. Okay. There you go. Our version of Lighthouse Docs. So if I was to go whiteboard, hey, oh man, I moved the. You know what? They don't have to see it. It's fine. There's no remote cohort, so it's okay. Just split screen. Okay. So Google Docs. How many clients do we need? A lot of them. So here's one client. Here's a mean client. And here's just a client who's kind of sad to be part of the example. Okay, so we have all these clients. How many servers do we need? All right, cool. We'll do one server. Lighthouse Docs. Cool. All right. Yeah, this is totally way out of the way for most people. There we go. Cool. Lighthouse Docs. We have one server. We have a bunch of clients. All right. I'll get you started. This client connects to the thing, right? Probably with an HTTP request, right? HTTP get or something, right? To see the doc, right? And then this client's also connected, and this client's also connected. They all go get, and they get something back, right? From it's probably Express or something running back there. So this user sees the document. We've all used Google Docs before, right? We change something in the document. What kind of request might that be, HTTP wise? Yeah, patch, put, post. It'll be something, right? Like we're making some, like we get something and then we make some change to it, right? How does this user see that change? Yeah, you have to make another GET request. You said they have to refresh, right? Is that what you said? They have to make another GET request to refresh. That's annoying, right? Would it be cool if like every time somebody made a change in Google Docs, they texted you and they're like, yo, refresh the page. Like, how annoying would that be, right? Or anytime somebody sent you a Facebook message, they text you and they're like, yo, refresh Facebook. I sent you a message. Like, well, just text me. Like, what is this? Right? So, what can we do? I don't want to refresh. I want it to be a real-time update. Right? Quick, tech interview. What happened? Okay, well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's think about our resume, like everything that we have up there, right? AJAX, sure. Okay, cool. So with AJAX, I can make a request without having to refresh the page, and that will like update some things on my page, right? Like I can ask for things, get things back, and I can change the DOM in response to that. But this dude needs to know that he has to make an AJAX request, right? Like this person needs to know that they need to make an AJAX request. They don't know. How do we get them to know? How do we trigger that AJAX request? No. All right. So that, yes. Can you keep that in your head for a sec? Let's target those two first. Not you two, but the two answers. So you say something like set an event listener or listen for a notification, right? If this person has to listen for a notification, they need to get a response. Like they need to get something from the server telling them that there's been a change. But by nature of HTTP, right? With HTTP, a client needs to make a request, and then the server replies. The server cannot initiate a request, right? So the client cannot just wait for data to come from the server with normal HTTP, right? Your solution, though, you said, what was that? Yeah, just keep asking the server if there was a change. Analogous to somebody texting you, Hey, what's up? Hey, you doing anything? Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up? You up? Like, that is something that you can do as a client. Like, you can keep asking the server if there's a change. Like, hey, is there a change yet? What's up? No, okay, I'll just wait. You know, that's what we're doing. So I encourage you. Notice how every time I make these clients, like I put little smiley faces on them. They are people, right? Like, these are people. My server, it's a person, right? Think of these things as living, breathing things that can communicate, right? And I think you're going to see a lot of the underlying patterns become a lot more clear, right? So yes, we can continually ask. That's a thing that we can do. That's what we're going to explore, right? Is before WebSockets, how is real-time communication done, right? So the option for that is keep asking. Keep asking, and yeah, let me do keep asking, and I'm going to write the word long polling here. This is for myself, not for you. I mean, you could look at it, but it's not going to do anything. Cool. So keep asking. Yeah, okay. Just started checking the mic. Yeah. So 1, 2. I'm gathering like samples, like sound samples from the lectures. You know, for my upcoming mixtape. And when I did the lecture for the junior cohort last week, I got them to say "Yo Nima" at the beginning. So look forward to. Yeah, that's gonna be my thing. Like, does anybody listen to like trap music here? Yeah, you know, like honorable C note. This is gonna be like, "Yo Nima." I don't know. Yeah, it's my tag. Yeah. So that's what we're gonna explore. I'm gonna write out the problem formally, and we're gonna explore the solutions. So I was joking about company, really, but so our problem is, since we are in the browser, we have to use HTTP for communication. Right? Let's go back 6 years, right? So since we're in the browser, we have to use HTTP for communication. And if we want to make these collaborative tools, the issue is that there are 2 main issues with HTTP. So 2 main issues with HTTP. Issue number one is the server cannot initiate a request, right? Cannot initiate a request to the client. So that whole waiting for notifications, not going to work, right? That's not a thing that we can do with HTTP, right? Cool. So pushing to the client is not easy. And number 2, HTTP requests are not persistent by nature. So we're going to talk about what that means. When I say they're not persistent by nature, another word for it might be they are transactional, right? And when I say that an HTTP request is transactional, what I mean is, if I'm a client and you're the server, I ask you something, you reply, and then that's it. I'm outie, right? If I want something else, I have to start again, right? I have to ask you for something again. So if I was to really break this down into step by step, it goes, the client opens a connection, right, and makes a request, you know, get dogs or something, right? Makes a request. This, like I should write this on a second line. Client opens a connection, client makes request. This would be the server, like, receives, processes, and replies, right? So there's a response. And then the, like, client connection closes, right? That's it. It's done, right? That is bad. That is bad because I can only ask for, like, one thing at a time, right? And like you said, like, we'll have to probably keep asking somehow. Now, the option that we came up with there was repeatedly asking for things, right? So the metaphor is somebody's just texting you all the time. What's up? Hey, you up? What's going on? I'm outside your house. Let me know when you're free. Like, that's that. And I'm going to call that solution 1. Hey, solution 1 that has to do with simple polling, right? Simple polling, asking for things. There are a couple ways of approaching this, right, code-wise, right? If we were to write this in JavaScript, there's a couple ways that we can approach this. And so that means that there's an option 1 in here and an option 2. Cool. Oh, I'm also just going to write this down so that you see it in the notes. Simple polling would be constantly send GET requests for new changes. Okay, so that is, I don't need quotes there. Constantly send GET requests for new changes. Option 1 is going to use a thing called set timeout. Right? Option 2 is going to use a thing called set interval. Actually, I'm going to split these. I'm going to say option 1 is set interval, and option 2 is set timeout. Do we know about these functions? Set timeout. Have you seen set interval before? Right? Very similar set timeout. Set timeout sets, hey, wait a second and then run this code or whatever. Set interval is going to say, hey, run this function every X seconds, right? It runs the thing on an interval, right? Makes sense? Did I get those definitions right? Okay. Last time I did this lecture, I got them backwards by mistake. So halfway through the thing, I had to go, oh no, let me Control F and just replace everything. Doesn't really matter. So set interval and set timeout. Now, let me make. Oh no, don't look. This is bad. This is the answer to the thing. Okay, there we go. I am a horrible programmer, right? So I always prepare my stuff ahead of time. So just because you haven't had an actual coding lecture with me before, the way I do these is I prepare big demos, right? We do a couple little ones and then we hop into like a bigger demo. And when we do hop into the bigger demo in the second half of the lecture, heads up, like I don't expect you to follow along with the code, right? I will be putting the code up, right? But what I expect you to do is think about like the implications of the things that we're doing. What are the underlying patterns and things like that, right? Part of why I do that as well is because like I like showing you that the things that we learn are not little toys, right? They can work in bigger kind of applications. So simple polling, we said that the first one we were going to do is with set interval, and the other one is set timeout. And this really just means if I have a get data function, right? I have some function get data. I could continuously ask for get data. I could go set interval, and the set interval function takes a callback and then an amount of time in milliseconds for it to wait. So here's a callback, and here's an amount of time to wait, 1,000 milliseconds, which for the lay people is a second. And then I just put get data in here. Hot dog, right? And I don't know, get data, do thing with data after getting data. I don't know, like just run this code over and over again every second. Something changes on the server, I will find out within a second, most likely, right? Does this kind of intuitively make sense? I'm just asking over and over again. What is bad about this? Yeah, making unnecessary requests all like constantly. I have to wait. Like here, I'm not waiting for the server to reply to me to tell me that there's no change, right? So if we go to the texting analogy, what this is you are here right now, right? Like you're at lecture and your phone is just like bzz, 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 like it's just going off, and you check on it and it's just like 18 different texts saying, hey, what you doing? Hey, you free? Hey, what's up? Hey, right? Like the person texting you has not waited for you to reply and say, no, like I'm busy right now, right? That is the issue with this set interval right now, is that that's what happens. It's not waiting for like a response to say, hey, there's nothing up right now. If the person, like a step towards the right direction would be person texts you, you say, no, busy right now. Person texts you immediately, and then you're like, no, man, I'm still busy. And then they text you immediately, and you're like, I'm still busy, right? That's getting a step towards like a normal human interaction, right? We're going to work towards that. So if this is set interval, what we might want to do, also the thing about this is we might get the data, the changes back out of order, right? I might make a request, like I might make request A, B, and C each 1 second apart, and the server might reply to these things out of order, like B and then C and then A, right? And that can cause some issues if I get out of order states, right? Just not something I want to worry about, right? You see how I'm like hand waving this? It's like even I get uncomfortable talking about it. I'm like, let's move past this, right? So if you start talking about set timeout, instead of asking every second, right? Instead of asking every second, what we could do is, let me grab this here. What we could do is only ask once we get stuff back, like once we get a response back. Yeah, paste a bunch of code in here. So set timeout is wait a certain period of time and then start. You pass it a callback to run afterwards. So here is, I've just made a function called fetch data, right? I call it, and fetch data inside of itself, it's calling set timeout. It's calling set timeout, so after a second, it'll make a request to try and get data, right? And now let's just imagine that my get data function, does something async or whatever, like it just does something, and eventually, somehow, it calls the callback that's being passed to it, right? Eventually, right? So what we're seeing here is that get data is called. We're passing fetch data down to itself. What was the word for that? Recursion. Wham! Recursion. Oh my God, it showed up. Yeah, recursion exists. It's in the real world, right? Get data, passing fetch data into it, and fetch data is this callback, and it'll only get called once like the response has been made and replied to, right? So if we were to visualize how this is happening, this is again me texting someone. They say, no, I'm busy right now, and then I text them again right afterwards, right? This only happens after I get that reply back. This is how things used to work. This is how the internet worked real-time-wise, right? When you didn't have WebSockets. Because WebSockets is a fairly new protocol, right? WebSockets is something that was introduced like 6 years ago or 7 years ago or something. See, it's you know, younger than me, man. No, like WebSockets is pretty young compared to things like HTTP, right? So sometimes the protocols that we have, for example, HTTP, do not fulfill the requirements for the tasks that we want to do, right? In this case here, we identified that HTTP is weird if we're trying to do real-time update stuff. So we had to like jimmy rig a situation, like a solution, to make it work for our use case, right? Does that make sense? You see how like this is upsetting though, right? To have to set this up. Like, I look at this, I'm like, like stop it, leave, like get out of here, right? Also, I just hate the idea of somebody continuously like, hey, what's up? Hey, hey. Like, dude, leave me alone, right? Like, how about I tell you when we can hang out, right? How about that? Like, I am not very good at, like, I know this is your resume here, the people skills and stuff. I would remove this for myself. Honestly, I might remove most of this stuff. I'm like, I don't know what HTML and CSS is. And then Grand Theft Auto. There you go. Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, good. That's a good. No, that's not a good pun. That's horrible. Cool. So, what I mean is like, I might. Where did I make? Ooh. Okay. What I mean by what I'm trying to get at is, I as a person might wait for people to message me, and then I will decide when to message them back, right? So somebody might be like, hey, you up? And then 8 hours later, I'll be like, yeah, I guess so. Like, what's up, right? It's rude, but it works, right? Somehow I've gotten data to the other person after they have initiated the connection, right? So let's hop back to the board of metaphor here. Whip out a little red marker. So you said that one option was to just continuously ask, right? Another option here, yo, grow up. Wham, there you go. Yeah, good teamwork. Another option instead of continuously asking for things is just being like, hey, let me know when you're free. You know, just let me know. That's the cool thing to do. It's like, yo, what's up? I'm around. I'm not like I'm all right. I've got other things going on. Just let me know. Like that's the cool way to handle things. And you get that message, you're like, that's a cool person. Okay? Hot dog. Like, wow. Yeah. You're like, you message them. You're like, yo, what Medium post did you read that taught you to be that cool or whatever? And that's something that you can do here, right? This dude, like, sure, send GET requests when things change, but these other two clients or whatever, like, they can be like, yo, let me know, right? Let me know, I'm on the line, whatever, right? You're on speaker. Does anybody ever answer the phone with go for? Do you ever do that? Like, yeah, like, yeah, I want to do that, yeah, go for Nima, like, that's something I really want to get into. These are the goals that I have. So anyways, this person's just like, yo, let me know. It's line's open. And anytime that the server then has some change in it, this connection just stays open, right? Just keeping my options open, and then send the message out. Yeah, is the analogy making sense? I hope, right? So that's what we're trying to do. Like, clients will connect, right? They will connect. They will make an HTTP request, and the server will just not respond, right? That's what we're doing, right? Have you seen in your network stuff pending before, right? When you try to make a request and the server is just not replying yet, we're using that to our advantage, right? Because if nobody responds to the request, it just waits. Right? It just waits. So the server can receive that, and instead of .send or .render or whatever back, they just wait on it. I'll put it in an array or something. I'll wait up, and then eventually, when it's time, I will call up all the people who are connected and be like, yo, there's been a change, right? What happens though when you respond to that hanging connection? Do you know? It closes. Yeah. So if I get a bunch of requests and I keep them open, as I respond to them, they're done. So the client needs to initiate another response. Another request, right? That's something the client needs to do. So we're going to look at that. That's called comment, right? Or long polling. That's why I wrote the word long polling up there. So solution 2 to this is like a smarter version of asking for things. It's called long polling or comment. And really, I'm not gonna code this up, but what we're doing here is we make a request, stays open, because the server does not reply. Right? Server just doesn't reply. When the server has something to reply with, they respond. Right? They send a response. That closes the connection, right? Because everything gets resolved. So the client needs to make another request. Which pens. Right? It just stays pending. Is pens a word? Pens, probably. So that is an idea. Again, also makes sense, right? It's another hacky way of setting up real-time communication, right? Is pens not a word? Yeah. Which stays pending. Stays pending. There we go. Which stays pending. Again, just another thing that people did before WebSockets existed, right? I want you to know about this stuff even if WebSockets exists, right? Because in the future we will come up with new use cases, right? New use cases that the tools that we have won't sufficiently work for, right? So we'll have to take the tools that we have and come up with our own solutions. Like, this is a pattern that happens all the time, right? I said something along the lines of React will not always be here, right? Because we might come up with cooler problems to solve, and React might not be able to, on its own, solve those problems. So we might start off by just hacking React into making it work, and then after a couple years, some nerds get together in a room and they're like, all right, let's give this thing a name. Let's call it something. In this case, let's call it WebSockets, right? Some nerds just get together and standardize this stuff. So this is like, it's important to understand like the history of these things. Let's talk about some pros and cons to this stuff. So somebody here said, simple polling, it's just sending a bunch of unnecessary requests, right, all the time, right, blasting the server with stuff, right? Maybe don't do that, right? Maybe come over here and only send one request that stays open, right? Now, this, I personally don't like because it feels like I'm misusing what HTTP is for, right? I'm misusing it, right? HTTP, we've said, is you send a request and you get a response back, and we try to treat it like as if it happens as fast as possible, whatever. So this feels like a perversion of that idea, right? Other issue with things like set interval are that this is not necessarily real time. Since we run these requests on an interval, right, there's going to be that latency of a second or however much we put on it, right? We want, did I write this? Real-time communication, right? So that's what we're going to work towards. Now, there are pros to both of these, though. The biggest pro is they don't require, like this is solution 1 and 2, they don't require any new specifications, right? Meaning no paperwork, like nobody has to come up with a new protocol. You just say, hey, listen, like we're just making a loop and we're asking for things all the time, right? That's a good pro. That's fewer things to learn. Yeah, also cons for both of these. Cons for both. Can you just imagine doing error handling on this? I can't. Like, I don't even know where I would begin, right? Especially with this set interval where there's like 18 different requests all happening at the same time. One of them might fail. Like, what do I do? Oh no, they came back out of order. How do I? Ugh. I want to see my kids, man. I don't have kids, but I want to see like, I want to see my plants, man. Like, I have things I want to do, right? So error handling, huge pain, all that. Pro, I'm going to say pro to this here. Pro to things like long polling or also set timeout but not set interval is responses come back in order. Right? Come back in order, that's pretty good. Cool. Cool. So that's that. 9:47. We've made it through most of this way without even talking about the title of the lecture, which we will do now. So enter, you know, here's a quote. I want a non-hacky way to do this. Right? Literally everyone. All the time. Right? With everything. I want a non-hacky way to do this. All right? Enter Websockets. And this is where Nima says, hey, let's take like a 10-minute break, and then we'll actually talk about the lecture topic. Does that sound good? So we'll take like a 10-minute break. Yeah. Are there any questions? I always forget. No? Cool. So. Oh, there we go. Doperoo. Cool. Hey everyone. All right. Sup? So welcome back. I'm like beyond hyped for what we're gonna do. It's because I didn't get this to work the way I wanted to last time I did this lecture. So you can laugh at the current, is it the current seniors? Or it might have been the people who graduated. I think it's the people who graduated. You can go like laugh at them. What's that? Yeah. But no, I just can't remember which cohort it was that I did this for, where like the full demo didn't work and I was upset. I mean, I wasn't upset. I'm not a baby, but like, I had a tantrum. They had to carry me out. Yeah, Don had to soothe me. He's like, "It's gonna be okay." I'm like, "The Websockets aren't connecting." No. So dynamic. What's his name? So, like a crying baby. That would be a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Or my 8th, or my 9th. Is that what we're sharing our failures, right? So you've already done errors and errors and promises already, right? The errors and promises lecture, I had a lot of fun with. So if you can't already tell, I like really using analogies and metaphors to make a point. So for the errors and promises one, I started off the lecture. I'm like, okay, like we don't know what promises are at that point, right? I'm like, okay, today's lecture is about like mistakes and promises that we've made. And I'm like, let's make a list of all the mistakes I've made. All the promises I've made. I'm like, here's a promise, I'll eat healthier. And I'm like, oh, I'll get to a 2-plate bench, right, by the end of the year, right? Yeah, like this big. Oh, yeah, little saucers. And then I'm like, I promised that, or we promised that we would make this relationship work. Just about. And I just tried to extend that thing as much as possible. I'm like, you make promises and they don't work out. And you just deal with it, right? You're like, I'll try again next time. We're like, I'll get to a 2-plate bench, right? Let's make another promise. Let's get to a 1.5-plate bench. We'll shift the goalpost. Make this relationship work? All right, it didn't work out. We'll go to therapy with it, right? Like with that issue. Like that's, I'm just a huge fan of analogies. We're going to try and bring some more analogies in here as we work our way through. Cool. So enter WebSockets. It's going to be a good time. So WebSocket is a whole new protocol for us. Right? A whole new protocol, like see you later, HTTP. Who needs you, right? We're on WebSockets now. Okay, we'll still use HTTP. HTTP is good for its things. If we want to do real-time communication, we'll use WebSockets. And WebSockets are built off of the same thing that HTTP is built off of, which is TCP, right? So you've talked about TCP before, probably. Can I get a shaking head or a nodding head if you have? Cool. So some lecturers, when they talk about HTTP stuff, they go into TCP. Oh. Yeah. Okay, I totally opened the floodgates. So TCP is just a networking thing. We don't have to go into it. But off of TCP is HTTP is built on top of that. WebSockets is built on top of that as well. You could look up TCP if you want. Not that important. But it's just a whole new protocol for us. WebSockets, it's a protocol where when we make HTTP connections, we do this, right? We go HTTP dogs.com. And then if I want to make a WebSocket connection, can you hazard a guess at what the beginning part of it would be? WebSocket connection? WS. Yeah, so TCP used for HTTP and WebSockets. Right? I'll hide this way down at the bottom. Like forget I said the word TCP. So this would be an HTTP connection, WebSocket connection. We're saying the protocol is WS or WebSockets. I make a connection to somewhere.com or whatever, right? Making my little connection somewhere. Cool. A protocol connection. Now, we do this through the browser. We're going to be doing this through the browser. Like in the browser, we'll be able to make a WebSocket connection. Let me blow your mind real quick. Let me go into the console for, just JavaScript here on the browser. I love working in the console because anything I write will give me autocomplete, right? So, love me. No, okay, apparently not. But like, WebSocket. WebSocket gives me something, right? Oh my God, what? Holy moly, all right, WebSocket. Let's press enter and see what the heck this is. And it's apparently some kind of function constructor. So I should be able to do something like new WebSocket, and it says failed to construct a WebSocket. Apparently needs an argument. Let me just say that, let me make a WebSocket request to http:/Mark Zuckerberg's fridge.com. Nope. No. So apparently, oh, I shouldn't have done HTTP, by the way, also. I should have done, and it tells me WS. So WS, Mark Zuckerberg's fridge.com. Apparently not able to open up a WebSocket connection to there, but once I hack into it, we'll be able to rot his milk or whatever. Sour his milk. That's a, make a connection to something, anywhere that there's a WebSocket server running, right? So when we made HTTP connections, we were making connections to somewhere that there was an HTTP server running, right? A server is just somebody that listens and then responds to things, right? So if I say an HTTP server, it's a thing that listens for HTTP requests and does stuff with them and then maybe responds. If I'm talking a WebSocket server, somebody that needs to be able to be listening to WebSocket requests and respond to them, right? So we're going to be using something that's not Express, right? We're going to be using WS, right? Which is a module that lets us create WebSocket servers, right? In the same way that we made HTTP servers with Express. Okay, so we're going to see that in a second. I want to talk about this a little bit more. Open this up. You got a URL, you got some ready state. And we see some things here. There's an on close, on error, an on message, and on open, right? These are things that exist within a WebSocket connection. So let me break those down in here. A WebSocket connection, right? If we're making a connection, we need to be able to listen for four types of events, right? One of them is open. We've opened a connection. 2 is send. We have sent a message. 3 is received. I have received a message, and then close. I have closed my connection. These are the 4 basic things that we can do with WebSocket connections, right? Now, when I talk about send and receive, I'm talking about sending and receive a message, right? Send a message or receive a message. And we're going to see that these messages that we send back and forth are just strings, right? Like text messages. It's just going to be text. That is what we're going to be sending back and forth, right? So we'll be exploring, like, if we want to send back and forth objects and stuff, that's going to be a little, we're going to need to do a little bit of work, right? So we're OK with these ideas. These are the things that we need to worry about when we're talking about WebSockets, right? When I create a WebSocket connection, so let me just create one here. Let Mark's fridge equal new WebSocket, right? So, oh, and this should be WS. Okay. Ignore the fact that, okay, wait, okay. Ignore the fact that Mark Zuckerberg is not letting me connect to his fridge right now. Let's pretend that we had a connection, right? Now, what I can do is go Mark's fridge dot add event listener. And I'll say add event listener, and I'll be able to say things like, ooh, listen for open, right? Let's listen for a connection being opened, right? And here's what you do when that connection is opened, right? let's listen for like us receiving a message from the WebSocket server, which we haven't seen yet, and we'll be able to write callbacks for what to do with when we receive the thing, right? So you'll see that you can write this stuff as .add event listener on the browser side, right? Or you'll just be able to go .on close, .on message, right? And we'll pass to this thing some callback, right? So when there is a message, let's assume that the message is being passed to the callback, and maybe just console.log that message, right? That's what we're going to do right now. Cool. The other part of this is that a server needs to be listening for things and sending messages, right? We need to be connecting to someone to be able to talk to them. So let me go over here to the first demo that I have. Basic chat. Basic chat. I'm going to copy and paste this, and we're going to build it from scratch. So here's my index HTML page. Ignore Kanye, as always. That's just good life advice, is just don't. Although, do you see that yeah, like Kanye recently went like, we'll talk about it later, actually. I shouldn't go off on that. Actually, no, I will. Kanye pulled back all his statements, or like a lot of them, which is good. Okay, like half of them. He says that he feels like he's being used by politics, and that he's not going to contribute to that anymore. Yeah, yeah, it's that, right? Like that whole thing. Do you think so? Yeah, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm not accountable for my actions. What are you talking about? So here's my index HTML. Is there anything fancy going on here? Heckin' no, right? It's just an HTML page, right? There's a title. Cool title, right? There's a CSS thing that's being used, and then I'm linking a script called main.js, right? So main.js is going to run when this page loads. And then in here I have an h1 that says how do you do, an input type text, and then a button that's called send button, right? And it says send on it. So if I was to look at this right now, if I was to just go ahead and go look at the thing, oh, and let me actually delete some things here. Whoop. Whoop. There we go. So I go open up my basic chat index HTML. Literally nothing surprising here, right? Nobody's surprised. Okay, so it's just an HTML page. I would like to do things like when I press send, this sends to a WebSocket server, right? Which means over in my main.js, which is my like client-side code, I should be able to do something like const connection equals new WebSocket, whatever, right? I want to be able to do that, right? I have that code over. I have that code over here. Okay, so I've called this var socket equals new WebSocket, pointing to my particular machine, right? So this is going to be like localhost at this port 8080. Right? So I'm going to need to run a server at port 8080, right? I'm going to need to do that. And then I want to do things like, hey, when you connect, maybe send a message saying, hey, I've connected, right? So let me just grab that here. Right? So I've written a thing that says socket.add event listener, right? So to the socket, let's add an event listener. That event that we're listening for is open, and when we open, socket.send new connection, right? So I'm going to be sending through that socket the message, just this string, the word new connection, right? That's it. Again, somebody needs to be listening for this, right? Somebody needs to be listening for this. So if I was to refresh my page right now, right? If I was to just refresh my page and check on the console, I get that, okay. Wait, I should be running this through a different thing. Let me.
New connection.
No, stop it! Oh my God. Oh no, that was a spoiler.
New connection.
Yeah. So, you want to close it for a second? Just because everything I do is gonna like scream at you from now on. Cool. So. I I want to be able to, as I make my WebSocket connections, stop it. Oh my God. I want to be able to see that those new connections have been made. Now, watch here. I'm connecting to port 8080 on my thing or whatever, right? New connection is being sent, right? Now, if I was to go over to my server.js, which at the moment should have nothing, right? So let me take it down real quick, or range it up. Node server.
Where was that voice coming from?
In here, man. Yeah. So if I was over on my server right now, like my server file, which I've called server.js, has nothing in it, right? So there is nothing running on port 8080. Can we agree on that, right? There is nothing running on port 8080. All I have is a client-side thing trying to connect to port 8080 on my local host, right? That's all that's happening. But the thing is that since there's nobody able to listen to that and respond, my connection is failing, right? In the same way that you can track your HTTP requests, you can track your WS requests, your WebSocket requests. Just right-click, go to the inspector, and inside of the network tools, right, make sure that you're filtering by WS, right? So there's a WS option, right? I'm going to refresh, and I see that some WS requests have been made, right? Here it is, and if I look at it, I can click on it and see some headers or whatever, but we're going to be playing around with the frames, right? We're going to be playing around with the frames. Right now, no good data is being sent because there is no server currently running. So there is a WS module on NPM, right, that does WebSockets. And one of the things that they have in here is a WebSocket server, right? Different than your HTTP server. It's a separate thing, right? WebSocket server, be running it on some port, right? And it'll be able to listen for stuff. So I'm going to start off just literally by copying over the simple server example, where if we were looking at this, it says create a WebSocket server, right, that runs on port 8080. And then we'll add a listener to that server saying, when there is a connection, here is what you do with that connection, right? And that thing that we do with the connection, it takes a connection, which in here, they've called WS, just a single WebSocket connection. The web server might be able to handle 100 different WebSocket connections at the same time. So this is a single connection, right? We're adding a listener to that one connection saying, when that connected WebSocket sends us a message, here is what we do with that message, right? And then down here, this is also saying, hey, to that WebSocket connection, let's send the words something, right? So that's everything that I'm copying over right now, running on port 8080 in my server.js, right? Now, you would have to npm install WS. I've already done this. So if I was to run my server right now, node server, right, we'll see that it is hanging, right? And we saw this before with Express, right? You open up a server, it waits. It's just hanging. And for me, it's waiting on 8080. And what that means is if I refresh this page right now, right, notice that I don't get an error. I don't get an error over here, right? And if I check the network, right, and I check my WebSocket stuff, I can check to see that there are pieces of data being sent back and forth between my WebSocket server and myself, right? I sent the word new connection. I received the word something, right? Sent and received. And you're seeing how these transactions can start working. The connection stays open, so I am free to continue to communicate back and forth. Okay? All right, so I know I'm taking it really slow at the beginning here. If it's fast for you, don't worry. Like, I can slow it down more. But like, I want to make sure that we understand this. I've made a connection. I can send something. I can receive something back. Does that sound good? Cool. So we can use this to our benefit because we can send anything back and forth. Over the course of your next project, like what you're going to be sending back and forth is text, right? Because you're working on a chat app, right? So we'll start working on maybe sending some chat back and forth. I have a little a little serverino right here. Cool. So I've beasted up my little server a bit. What I'm doing in the server now is I'm saying, hey, like I'm listening on port 8080. Whenever there's a connection, add that connection to a list of clients, right? Add that connection to a list of clients. So in memory, I have a list of clients somewhere, right? Maybe I have 8 people connected to it. Like I add every one of them to it the first time they connect. And then I add a listener to that client saying, hey, first of all, when they send me a message, console log that message on the server side, but also broadcast that message out to everyone, right? So here I'm looping over my clients array, right? Clients.forEach. Like we've seen this kind of code before. I'm for eaching over an array, right? That array just happens to be holding a bunch of clients. And I'm saying for each client, let's just look at this line here, send a message to that client. So the message that's incoming, echo it out to every client. Now, I want only to send this out to clients who are currently connected, right? Because if a client connects to me and then dies, at the moment, I don't have any code to pull them out of my array, right? So my array turns into like a graveyard of dead clients, right? I would only like to send messages out to currently connected clients. And I would also only want to send messages out to like other people, right? Like maybe for this example, like I want to broadcast things out to everybody who isn't the original sender of the message, right? So I'm saying check to make sure that the ready state of the client is open, and also make sure that the client we're currently looking at is not the client who sent the message. Okay? Yeah. So, and then we send the message. So what we should see now on this thing here is if I was to open up 2 instances of the same page, right? 2 instances of the same page, and check the network status here of the thing. So network WS, we got this little fella right there and this little thing right there. If I was to take down the server, right, real quick, I'm going to take it down. I'm going to bring it back up with those changes that I made, right? What I should get now is when this thing connects and it sends new connection, right, it did not receive anything back, right? It just sent out new connection. This thing connects now, right? And it sends out the word new connection, right? And then that word of new connection gets broadcast out to everybody else who is connected, okay? So that new connection got broadcast out to everybody else who was connected. In this case, there just happened to be one other person, right? Cool. Let's do something a bit funky, because we can get these messages, right? We can get these messages, and instead of me just looking at them in the frames, I could start maybe console logging these messages, right? I could do stuff with them, which means on the client side, I might want to add a listener. Might want to add a listener for like on message, right? On message. Let's just console log the message right now. Message, right? So I've added event listener to the client side, right? So I refresh both of these things here, and absolutely nothing happens. Heckin' dope. Did I change? You know what? I probably wrote the add event listener wrong, so. Zoop. You go. Wham. And heckin' wham. Okay. Docket, add event listener, message. Did I? Oh, I never restarted my server. That's. Oh. There we go. Okay. So every time I refresh this thing now, a new connection's being made, right? This dude receives a message, and I'm currently console logging it, right? And I want you to see that a message that we get, that message event, is like most of those events that you've worked with before, right? It's got a target. The target's not a DOM element. It's a WebSocket connection. It's got a whole bubbles and whatever. Got an origin from where that message is coming from, and also sweet, tasty data. Ooh, data, right? My data, yeah. I was talking to a dude. I don't know. People get like. I was reading this book where like data is the new oil. Tasty. Like that just sounds gross to me, man. I thought we were upset about oil, right? But actually, the book's really good because then they started drawing parallels between like data collection being the new oil and oil causing like climate change and all that. And they're like, let's extend this metaphor. It's pretty good. It's that book that I was showing you the other day. That's what it was. That book, the big old colorful one. Really good. I have a DRM-free PDF of it. So, like legal, if you want it, I can send it out to you. It's pretty dope. Anyways, I'm console logging that data out, and right now it's some text. And I could do crazier things with this, which I will in the next example. But I want to show you this. So, pasted in a heck of a bunch of code. I do not like normal chat apps. I don't like reading. It's hard. And also, I don't like the fact that when you do stuff on the internet, it's persistent. Like, you write something on the internet, it's there forever. I like the fleeting nature of these conversations that like people have, right, in real life. Like, I say something, and in like 10 minutes, you're like, did Nima actually say that? I don't know, because there's no written record of it, right? So we're going to do that on the web here. What we've created is WebSocket connection. I am loading up voices. This is really cool. Not because I did it, because Sam showed me the other day. You can do speech synthesis on your browser, right? You can do speech synthesis, and there's all these different voices, like Damayanti and Anna and Karmit, right? Juan, right? So we're gonna we're gonna make the thing talk. When we receive a message, I'm gonna run it through the speech synthesizer API that's built into your browser. I think it's fun. For your chatty app, you will receive messages and push them to the DOM, right? You can do arbitrary things with the messages that get sent back. So on a new event, on a socket connection, I send the word new connection. My server's just echoing everything that it like anything that it receives. Like it's just a middleman that hears something and just shouts it out. It's a snitch, like it just snitches. And then whenever my client side receives a message, right, I'm console logging the message, but then I'm taking from that message data, okay? I'm creating a thing called an utterance, which is like a spoken thing. I'm grabbing all the voices. By default, there's like a default voice, but I have a voice called Victoria that I'm grabbing from all the voices. And I've done a thing where I say, okay, depending on how the message is formatted, we're going to understand this in a second. Depending on how the message is formatted, it will use a different voice. But the important part here is at the end of it, it says that voice. Speak synthesis dot speak utterance. And then I've attached a listener to that send button that I have, so that when you click on that button, it sends the message. Okay? It just takes the text from that input, takes the text, and it just sends it. Right? I've tried to make this as like not cool as possible. So
new connection.
Whew, new connection. And now I invite you all to go to this URL right here. With whatever devices you have, and honestly, just start writing things and spamming them. It's gonna be a good time. Oh right, yeah, I shouldn't have made it tiny, eh?
New connection. New connection.
Also, wait, I'm gonna put it in the Slack. What's wrong with me? We have a whole thing here. Wham, Slack. It's right there.
New connection. New connection. New connection. New connection.
Yeah.
New connection.
Brah.
New connection.
Dude,
New
yeah.
connection. New connection. New connection.
There we
New
go.
connection.
Oh my God.
New connection. New connection.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute mine for a sec.
Lol. Lol. New connection. New connection. What? Hey. Sup. Hey, you up? I'm a ghost. I'm a ghost.
A ghost.
New connection. New connection.
Yes.
New connection. New connection.
There you go.
What's up? What's up? Nime.
That's my name.
Nime.
Yeah. So I have this name,
Nime.
and then that thing that I said it.
M-E. N-I-M-E.
Yeah.
N-I-M-E. N-I-M-E.
Jeez.
N-I-M-E.
So yeah, because it queues itself up.
N-I-M-E.
All right.
N-I-M-E. N-I-M-E. N-I-M-E.
Oh my God. Somebody just spam
N-I-M-E.
send, right? Is this poop? There's poop in here.
N-I-M-E.
All right, so
N-I-M-E.
I'm taking it down for a sec.
N-I-M-E.
Okay. So,
N-I-M-E.
all right.
Connection.
Let's nobody send anything for a second. So I put in a thing where you go if you say what is it? What was the name in here? Victoria. Victoria. It just uses a different word, a different. It's like a female voice called Victoria. It might be a male named Victoria or non-gender. I don't know, but like, what up?
What up?
Yeah. Oh, so,
I care about you.
thanks, Mom. Oh no.
TK. TK.
So that's the chat. The reason I put this the Victoria thing in is if you want to look at how to add extra commands to your chatty app, just go take a look at this and see how I set that up. I don't really want to. It'll be self-explanatory or ask me for help, but different kind of commands. And in your case, you might do like image or whatever. So that's our chat. Now, also this is all going to be on GitHub in like a minute. Okay, in like 30 minutes. Cool. So how do you do, Claire? Okay. Now I have a couple other demos because I think that this stuff is like a lot of fun. We've sent back just text, right? Like I showed you that it was just text going back and forth. And if I was to look over here in my network, right, the things that are going back and forth are just text. Every time I send a new word, just text, right? So what we're going to do instead is we're going to send text that has some funky kind of meaning to it. And that meaning is going to be like a stringified JSON value, right? So we can pack up some cool data and do stuff with it. I have a little demo over here. Welcome to your very first Kanye demo, right? Your very first one. Now, the Kanye demo, let's take a look at the index.html. Right? What I have here is literally just a thing that says hello and then an image. Right? Why is this giving me errors? Stop it. Yeah, whatever. It's just literally an image with the ID Kanye, and I got a little Kanye head that we're going to see in a sec. So if I was to go over to Kanye, and then CD backpack, CD Kanye, node server. We're going to see what the server looks like. It's already built. But over on this side, I have a little Kanye head. And I've set it up so that you like move around their heads. And you can make as many of these as you want. It's honestly kind of... oh, are you connected to it as well? Oh my god. Yeah, bzz, I say awkward things. Bzz. Yeah. Yeah, you could have so many. Yeah. And what's going on with this is if we were to look over at my network stuff, oh my god, there we go. Whoever's connected to it, could you not move it for a second? Just for a second. But we're going to see that as this thing moves around, we're sending back and forth, again, just some text. Again, just some text, but it happens to be some text that encodes X and Y values from the screen, right? So what I've done with this one is, in this demo here for the main file, right, the client-side file, I, again, made a connection, right? I added a listener to onMessage. And what I was doing with onMessage was when the server receives a message, that message is going to be some JSON, so I'm going to parse it, right? I'm going to parse it. And then the thing that's in there is like a position that has an X and a Y. And I take those X's and Y's and I add them to the styles of Kanye as the left and top pixel values, right? Because if we were to look at my CSS, Kanye is being positioned in absolute. And this lets me move around an object. That's all, right? So that stuff is being done like that. And on the client side, oh, sorry, on the server side, I'm just echoing any messages that come in, right? So oh, I forgot to show this. Where did Kanye go here? Kanye min. Here you go. So Oh, I forgot to say, I added an event listener to the body so that as you move the mouse, it just grabs the current mouse X and Y positions, right? Puts them into a JSON string, right? And sends them, right? This is virtually like identical to what's going on for the chat app, right? Like actually the server side of it is exactly the same, right? It just changed some stuff on the front end. And now I'm moving these dudes around. Oh my god. Yeah, that's spooky. Cool, so I'm gonna take the server down again real quick. I'm gonna show you one last thing and I'm gonna let you go. The last one is music. Cool. So music is fun. Does anybody here listen to music? Yeah, this is like, no. Yeah, this is like good first date talk. Oh, so you like hearing sound waves in your ears? Me too. So here's something. I have a server running again. I will tell you that the server is identical, right, to like what we've written. I've just pasted it in a couple different folders. But in this one here, the front end of it, I've made a little bit different, right? So with the front end, with the front end, there's a video. Okay, there's a video, a song called "The Higher Power." Oh my God, close, please stop. No, you weren't supposed to see this. There's a song called "The Higher Power" by an artist called Kyle Bent, and it's the cutest video ever because this dude, I mean, he's a good rapper, but in the video, like the music video for this, he just goes around the dorm room, or sorry, the dorm like building, and also the video has low frame rate. It's not lag, because they have no budget. So, so he's rapping. He just got all his friends and all the people from the dorm building to like follow along, and it's so cute. It's just so wholesome, right? The song is about believing in yourself and all that. And as they go through it, like you explore deeper and deeper into the dorm. So there's a particular section of it where, actually, let's see, where is it? There's a dude who's just like way too cool. So he goes down the stairs, and then he goes into this area, and he's just like, hey, all my friends. And they all get high fives. This guy dabs. Yeah, and this guy, look at how cool this guy is. He's like, man, it's a good burrito, right? Like, and this is my favorite part. Look at that guy. It's so cool. Yeah. Who is they? So, you know, there's just the song. Eventually, they find themselves back with the original gang. This guy doesn't want to make eye contact. He's like, nah, I don't want to. And then they get into like a communal area, and everyone's just like, we made it. Word up. Yeah. So, so I figure like this song slaps. Like it bangs. It's a good song, right? It comes from, you know, the depths of SoundCloud and whatever. I'm like, I want to share this with my friends. I really want to give this song like the recognition that it deserves. I want it to be broadcast across Vancouver, right? Like full on dictator style, like 7 a.m. in the morning, you wake up to like, open your eyes up, and you're like, all right. So what I did was same URL, right? Set up a WebSocket connection so that anybody who connects to this thing has the video start playing like together. So the video is like synced between servers. Is it? There you go. So it like glitches a little bit, so you gotta let it load up and then you press play and then it syncs. Oh. Okay. Now don't connect to it just yet. I want to talk about something. So what's going on here is YouTube, the little embedded videos that you get, there's an API to them, like a JavaScript API. So you can control when they play, you can control when they pause, you can control where to seek to, right? So I've set it up so that if I was to seek to a different place here, this like really lags out. But they both like end up trying to seek to the same location. This is why I leave this one for the last, because it doesn't always work. But what we're going to try to do is everybody, or whoever wants to, connect to this, right? So same URL as what you have there. And I'm going to see if we can sync it up. Now please turn off your speakers for a sec though. And let me know when you're in. Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, you're in? All right, cool. I just want to see if we can make it work with a couple. All right, so hopefully if I press play, if you raise the volume in a sec, when these things start playing together, they might. Oh. Is it playing? Oh, okay. Oh, that one's playing. Right, so some of them play. This is the hackiest thing, but I think it'd be a fun final project. Right? Right, to
Let me get it like this, let me get it like that. Lost my grip, I'ma get it right back.
stereo. Woo! Yeah, look at that. Oh, but it's totally unstable. How fun is that though, right? Immediate party, yo, everybody pull out your phones. Hey, all of us, let's listen to the dopest underground YouTube hip hop. Which one? Yeah. I mean, this is kind of it's a good idea though, right? Because it's this would be a great party app, right? Turn everybody's phones into speakers and microphones, so you can listen to all the conversations and sell that data. Oh no, wait, I'm sorry, sorry. I went down the data is the new oil route. No, so yeah, I don't know. I think this stuff is awesome. Yeah, that's really about it. If you want to see the code, I have this up on GitHub. I've made a couple changes last night, so I'll be putting that up too. But pretty much the same thing. If we were to look at the music here, where did I put it? Music. There you go. Music. Main basic things are. On message, it sends either a play, stop, or a timestamp. It receives either a play, stop, or a timestamp, and it also sends either a play or a stop or a timestamp. I invite you to kind of dig around with it, but yeah. No, stereo. Yeah. Do people do you see why WebSockets are cooler than just chat? Right? I want you to know that the things that you're gonna do, they're a bit better than just doing chat back and forth. That's about it. Cool. You had a good time? Nice. Hey, dope. Thanks. Also, I don't know when the next lecture I have with y'all is gonna be. Probably a while. So I'm gonna be around for the rest of the day. If you have questions, let me know. Yeah. Thanks for interacting, by the way. The which one?
The PDF that you were talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Do you have a Mac or a Windows computer? Mac. Okay. What's your email?
BrennanPClark@gmail.com.
Doperoo. Okay, so wait for this to load up. Yeah, it's called the New Dark Age.
Yeah, you were telling us about it last
Yeah,
week.
Brandon P. Clark, like that?
It's BRENNAN.
Oh wait, okay, you read it.
What are you guys doing? Are you sending the book?
Yeah, just whoever is interested in seeing the thing, I'll send it out to you. You want it?
Yeah.
Yeah, dope. What's your email?
The whole name with dots in between, so it's Nick dot.
Nick with a K or an H though?
CK, yeah.
CK?
Dot Vaughn, VON.
No problem.
Dot Butlar, BUTTLAR. Yeah.
Nice, and at gmail.com.
This is the book you're sending him?
Yeah, the New Dark Age, and I'll send you I have 2 different things of it.
Okay, cool.
Dark, New Dark Age. There we go. There's a Mobi and an EPUB depending on what kind of e-reader you use on your computer.
Okay.
So do you have a Mac?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you'll be able to open up the EPUB, and it'll just load up in iBooks or whatever.
Okay.
So
Okay,
it's pretty dope. Yeah.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Generally, WebSockets is it a library?
It's a protocol.
It's a protocol.
It's a protocol. So it's a thing that people have agreed on how we're going to be able to like communicate, right? And now web browsers, they will implement like that protocol, right? So you don't have to install anything to be able to start using WebSockets from the client side, right? So from like any random page that I want, right? From any random page, you could do that. You can do like fetch, for example, right?
Yeah.
Right, because that's built in, right? There is also WebSocket just built in to any random page, right? Just in your browser. Now on the server side, you need to be able to listen for those messages,
And
right?
that's what we were building out there.
Exactly. So that's where we would use the WS like npm module, and that is the same as talking about like Express, right?
Okay.
So you know Express is a thing that listens for HTTP requests and responds to them.
Yeah.
WS on the server side is a thing that listens for requests
So
and replies.
it's a middleware?
No.
It's still a protocol thing?
It's here. Let's split it up this way. So
I don't know why. I don't know
Yeah.
why I need to define it.
no. I think it's important to understand the distinction here because let's say that this is me and this is you, right? We have a protocol for talking between each other, which is called English, right? Like English is just that language that exists. Now it's up to me to use my vocal cords to be able to talk in English, and it's up to you to be able to use your ears to listen to the words that come in, right? So if I was to do this in, like we're talking about computers, this is the client, this is the server, right? And if we're talking about HTTP, we have agreed that the client and the server can talk in a language called HTTP, right? Just a language that we've decided on. It's up to the client to implement the stuff that constructs like requests in that language, right? And it's up to the server to have an ear that can listen for that language and interpret it. And the same thing goes for WebSockets, right? WebSockets, it is just another protocol that the client and the server have agreed on, right? But again, it's up to the client to be able to format requests of this type, and up to the server to be able to listen to requests of this type, right? Now, for the client, this is already built in, right? On the browser, like people have created.
Like here we're doing npm installed.
Exactly.
WS.
Yeah. So on the client, like the browser makers, people at Google, Apple, and all that, have agreed on this WebSockets thing that everybody's implementing, right? So
It's popular enough. They just.
yeah, they've decided like this is how it's going to work on the client side. For the server side, right? If we're using Node for our server, in the same way that you had to install Express to be able to talk in HTTP, right? We have to install WS to be able to talk in WebSockets,
Okay.
right? There are many options for, like Express is not the only option for talking in HTTP. Like it's the one we've used, but it's not the only one,
Yeah.
right? There are other options for the server to have WebSocket stuff other than WS.
So,
Right.
like what? So like you're never using WS and Express. Like you use them situationally. Differently.
You could use both of them at the same time. I mean, when we're talking about Express, we have just a JavaScript file where we go const app equals whatever, right? And then you go app.get, right? App.get, yada yada. You also have a bunch of things on like databases maybe, right? Like you making a connection to a database thing, right? You could also make a WebSocket thing, all happening from the same file, right? Actually, if you go look at KV's lectures, he does that. Like he sets up Express and a WebSocket thing at the same time.
Could you do what you just did with Express?
So Express is only going to do the HTTP stuff, right? You could do it all in the same file if you wanted to, right? Like in the same file, you could create your HTTP like Express thing, right? And then also these shouldn't overlap, but like also your WebSocket stuff. You can have both of them running from the same file. That's the thing that you can do.
So and this would be the server.
Yeah. So the server's gonna have this, and it's gonna have two like mini servers running inside of it.
Okay.
Right?
I sort of understand.
Yeah. That's the containment of these things starts feeling a little weird. Yeah. As you work on Chatty, I think you're gonna see it make a bit more sense. But does this explanation of what a protocol is kind of?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like it's just the language that we've decided on, right? But each actor in that conversation, they're responsible for their method of producing requests and listening to requests. Yeah.
Express uses HTTP, a WebSocket uses WS.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. Nice. No problem. Cool. And I sent you the book. I'm so glad that the music thing worked because I was really disappointed when I did it like